Hello and welcome everyone to episode 32. It's been a while since we've actually had a show. The last time was right after the playoffs finished, which was like a month ago at this point, which is pretty incredible. Time flies. But now we have a special episode tonight. We are going to be previewing and discussing everything and anything Crucible related. And with me as always is the Dunkstik. How you doing, bud?
Hey, bud. I'm doing good. I'm pretty sure I'm muted. I hope everyone can hear me. Doing pretty good. We have a great show ahead of us talking about the EU and North America Open climax, the Crucible. It's what everyone's been building up to. And with us, we have our special guest, Kala, Tempo Storm's one and only coach, a.k.a. the community coach hero. Welcome, bud. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. How are you two doing this afternoon, this evening? You guys are East Coast, right? Evening?
I'm Central, so it's
okay,
like
well, yeah,
7
it's still
o'clock.
Evening. Yeah,
it's
how are
5
you guys?
o'clock. The sun's out.
Dunk lives in Arizona, so he's got it easy.
Dang, I don't know anything.
Hey, personal information has been unleashed. Please no one stop me.
Oh no. Well,
my window's closed.
I'm doing okay. I ate some really spicy sushi at dinner, so my mouth's kind of on fire. But anyway, I think we should just get right into it.
Yeah.
So let me make sure I have the correct scene up. There we go. We're transitioning live production value.
You know what you're doing.
So, as everyone probably knows, we have Worst Positioning and Granite Gaming coming from EU, and they will be playing against Diamond Skin and Leftovers, respectively. And then in North America, we have XD going up against LFM, and King's Gambit going up against No Tomorrow, respectively. So, the big topic that I want to tackle today is, Kala, coming from a coach's point of view, how should the teams have been preparing for the Crucible, both coming from the amateur scene and coming from the HGC? What do you think that those teams should be doing to get ready to have the best possible chance of winning the series?
So, it's a tough thing to say, but I'm pretty sure it mirrors across both sides. So, if you're to look at these differently, one side is the Open Division teams, other side is the HGC teams. So both of these teams have a lot on the line here. I would say arguably, I guess on the line, the HGC teams have more there to give up because they're the ones who hold the position in the first place. So that's one thing that the Open Division teams do have over their opponents. But there's also something huge that HGC teams have over Open Division opponents, and that's just top level scrim practice. Examples, like No Tomorrow, they play against my team all the time, a team that's that's at the top of the HGC. So they're used to playing against better teams than the likes of King's Gambit or XD. So it's not to say that Open Division teams don't get scrim practice against HGC teams, because they certainly do. But it's just not as frequent. And if, I truly believe that if No Tomorrow are to step up their game and just play Heroes properly, the way that I'm pretty sure they know how, they've got a coach, they've got really strong players on their roster, maybe they've got some conflicting minds, but if they can actually just band together as a team, I thought that No Tomorrow had the type of roster that could go quite far, to be honest, in the HGC. Mm-hmm. So as long as they can stick to those sort of guns and just work on their team, then I do think that they could do well. But they're up against King's Gambit, man. They looked so good. And I don't know how much I can say here, but I know a lot about all of these teams, right? Because my team scrims all of them. So I know everything about these teams. Obviously, I'm not going to say anything, but still. I know a lot about these teams, and I actually think that in both of these situations, it could go either way. So if you're entering into this as either team, and you asked me about preparation, King's Gambit and XD coming from the Open Division side, they have to make sure that they play the tightest games of their lives, because these are HGC teams. They will take anything. You give them a little bit of information and they will run with it. They know what they're doing for the most part, and they will be way more ruthless than any other opponents that they have faced in the Open Division. And I can guarantee that. Mm-hmm. So as long as the Open Division teams are so scrutinous about the little mistakes that they make in their scrims leading up to the Crucible, then I think they could be successful. They have to hold themselves to the same level of degree as HGC teams, or they will fall short. And if you're the HGC teams, they basically just have to make sure that they stay focused. Like, that's how you get into the Crucible. It's not because you're bad players. It's because you have issues on your team. It's because you don't agree with your drafter, and your team isn't able to develop a good team culture, and you're not able to play as a team. But if they can just fix that issue that's going on with their teams, I'm not sure if that's what's happening with LFM or No Tomorrow, but likely there's always a team culture and team dynamic issue when it comes to teams dropping down to the 7th, 8th place. I've been on enough teams and I've been in the scene long enough to tell you that that's almost definitely a fact. So as long as they can just try to fix those issues, I think both of the HGC teams can also be successful. So different criterias for winning. Sorry, I kind of went on a rant there, but
well, it's good.
I got a lot to say.
That's what we want. So
yeah, and that's kind of how I feel about both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, I kind of want to piggyback off that. We had a fun little conundrum with the results of both open divisions, honestly, EU and NA. For those of you that don't know, the 7th seeds coming from the open in total points both won the playoffs. So King's Gambit was the 7th seed in North America, and Worst Positioning was the 7th seed in Europe. So these teams already know how to do their homework on the teams that are ahead of them. They had to play a ton of games to get to where they're at, and coming into the Crucible with all of that HGC footage, I think that it is the incumbents most likely to lose. I am pushing 4 new teams in the Heroes Global Championship this next season.
Really?
That is my prediction. Having seen all these teams play, I just feel like they have what it takes. It's just crazy like how well they've been playing.
They've got a lot of hype going for them too, entering into this. Like what happened with King's Gambit, that team actually blows my mind. They went from like a mid-tier team in open division to just being the best one. Like it seemed like it happened overnight too. I don't know what the heck they're drinking or what they're eating, but they need to make sure they continue doing it because it's insane.
It's that e-juice.
Well, actually, I think when they picked up Diesel and Zergling was when it really pushed them forward because talking with them, Zergling has done amazing work as both a shot caller and drafter for them. And I think that's been just a huge influx of positivity is not the right word, but what am I trying to think of?
Productivity on their
productivity. Team? That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. Thank you for putting words into my mouth.
Sorry, bud.
That's what I wanted. You're good. Yeah, they all of a sudden they went from like a 2 to, I'm doing this on purpose, to a 7 overnight.
So painful.
And then obviously now they're at 10. So,
There you go. Wait, I had something I wanted to say about their teams too. I want both of the open division teams to make sure that they are playing their game specifically and not just entering into a best of 7 trying to just counter their opponents, because you're not going to do that with an HGC team. I feel like both of these open division teams have excelled when they get their style of drafts. I don't want to speak about the specific drafts, but you know what I'm talking about. When you see these specific players on their heroes, they absolutely shine. And there are very real possibilities to put those players on those heroes and just for these teams to focus on their own games instead of their opponents' games. And yes, it's good to do your research and it's good to, to understand what your opponents are going to bring to the table, but they have to stick to their guns. And I think that this Crucible is probably going to be the most exciting one we've seen so far.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely the most contested, where it's not, oh, well, the HGC, they're just going to win. Or, as we saw last time, it was like, well, HeroesHype is just going to 4-0 because they just look so much better. Obviously, that's what happened. So.
Definitely the skill level from the HGC teams to our open division teams, the difference has dropped dramatically from week to week. We watched week by week these teams kind of dominate their regions. Team Singularity, SMV, Aria Please, Team Nightmare, Team Nightcare, EID, Terra's Rosina. Come the big day, it's on the newest patch. I feel like the 4 teams that did advance, they really had a grasp on what are the strong heroes. And if you've watched, I'm gonna use Granite Gaming in particular because I love their team and I watch all their games. I make a point of it. Raid Boss is like a Garrosh god, and I feel like he took up that hero like beforehand, and like they weren't doing so well with it. But once they got rolling with it and they kept playing it and playing it, like talking a little bit about what Kala says, when they play their own game, I just think they roll over the other teams, and I'm really looking forward to those games. I'm pretty sure EU Open went to 7 games. I think Worst Positioning they went all night.
It was like 4-2 was the final series between them and Worst Positioning.
So 6 games? Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas we saw a clean sweep for NA, but that was, I think, did XD 3-0'd, didn't they, to get to the final?
They got 3-0'd going into it. We already had a podcast about his thoughts on that matter.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the point is, all 4 of these teams are obviously going to be putting a lot of effort into what they're doing because they want that spot, or they want to retain that spot. And I think, going into it, they have to, as Kala said, they have to play their own game. We're echoing each other at this point because I think we all have the same idea of what every team needs to do. Yeah, exactly. And
going into it, Argy, who's your pick from Europe? Who do you think is going to happen?
I'm going to get to that later. I want to finish my train of thought here. One thing that kind of goes with what Kala was saying is that there was an interview with all 4 of the HGC teams that were going to the Crucible on the Heroes Esports website. And I remember, I think it was Equinox that said this. As long as we get our drafts, I feel confident that we're going to easily take down King's Gambit. And that's one thing I want to point out is, like, with how important drafting is to this game, I think obviously King's Gambit can't just let them have what they want, because then it's just making it tougher for them. But they can't go out of their way so much as to hurt their own draft. You know what I mean?
Yep, I do. I think that a lot of these games are going to be decided in draft. Heroes right now is so, draft is so huge because of how important early game is in the game right now. Ever since the gameplay update, if you can snowball a game, you can usually close it out as long as you have the right, mentality. You don't throw that sort of stuff. But early game is so important, and drafting is massively part of the early game. You select a specific style of draft, and you're comfortable with it. You know how to execute it, for the first portions of the game very well. Usually you can close out games if you're really comfortable with the draft. But I seriously think that a lot of these games are going to be decided by drafts. Just doing HGC China, almost every single one of those games I entered into, even if it was a team I thought was, or I knew could beat the other team, you could just look at their drafts and be like, well, now we're going to have a loss for this team that's dominating, because it's so obvious like that a lot of the time with these drafts. People will trade out these B tier picks for S tier picks over and over and over. So both these teams have to be very, very cautious about what they do with their drafts. I swear draft is going to be one of the most important things in these series.
Do you think that sometimes people, at least maybe you notice this in China, I don't know how much it affects them because I don't watch it as much as I probably should, but the teams in the Crucible, do you think they will struggle with having comfort picks over meta picks, or what they need to be drafting?
No, I think right now all of the, at least on the open division side, all of their comfort picks are meta picks because they're smart teams. They're not going to be like, oh, I just play Falstad, so I'm just going to spam Falstad games. It's like, no, if I'm the offlaner, I know how to play the Blaze, I know how to play the Malthael, I know how to play the Sonya, I know how to play the Dahaka, I know how to play the X, Y, and Z heroes that are top tier. So for the most part, and their range, their supports, everything, they actually focus on the heroes that are really, really good. I don't think, I don't think that people in the open division, I don't think players or teams in the open division will be choosing heroes that they're just comfortable on that aren't also meta. I think they're synonymous in this case.
So you might have just answered my question, but maybe like, let's say a tank player, his comfort pick is Muradin, and he will want to take that over maybe Joanna or something like that. Do you think that could ever happen?
With one team, yes. And I know you probably know who I'm talking about. Yes, with one team, I think that will happen, and that is literally the only pick, and maybe one more, and it's a Jaina. So I think those are two picks that we will see that there could be a better pick going in the situation, but they are just so much better with this other hero.
Okay. Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, so I don't even have to say. You just have to say Muradin, and I just have to say Jaina, and we know what we're talking about. But yeah, I don't want to, go over too much about those players because it's not our job to do the research for these teams if they're watching. Yeah.
So, Dunk, do you have anything more to add on what you think teams should be doing to prep?
I think they should be eating healthy and getting enough water during the day. It's an overlooked fact.
Yeah,
being well rested and well hydrated is a great thing.
You know
game.
what the HGC stream needs? Stay hydrated bot.
Hydration bot.
Yeah, hydration bot. Then they'll put it. They need to put it in the game too. So they'll take like pauses every like 20 minutes. Guys, just get some water right now. Just get some. Look at these two. They just know.
Hydration bot, man. Always reminds me.
Hydration bot in the chat, guys.
Which is great because my water bottle is like completely clear.
All right. I want to move on to the next section here, and now, Kala, we're going to go away from your from your coach persona to your caster persona because I know they're completely different. And I want you to tell us about your absolute favorite moment of NA HGC Open this season.
So I've got favorite maybe favorite situations for both teams. So it might not be a specific moment, but it was kind of one of those things that happened. I was talking about it earlier where a team just flips the switch and you're like, okay, they figured it out. So with XD, running right in. Okay, so with XD, it's kind of twofold. As soon as they started in the open division, man, they were destroying everybody. They were so good. And I really feel like XD set the standard for how good you had to be in order to participate in the open division. They're like, okay, you guys don't know how to play the early game? Fine, we'll just beat you by 3 minutes. And then every other team were like, oh, okay. And that's literally all I talked about for the first couple of weeks of casting. I was like, well, it looks like Jin is controlling every single bush again, so I guess XD is going to win. And then all of a sudden you see Leon Black stepping into these bushes, and it's like, okay, all right, these warriors kind of know how to play against each other. So XD, my favorite moment for them was when they showed how much better they were than all of their opponents in the beginning weeks. And I thought that was absolutely fantastic. It was so exciting to watch. And then number 2 for XD was when they lost one of their players, and one of those players got picked up in the HGC. So it's it's kind of double-sided there, but that was fantastic. And for King's Gambit, I think it was in week 6, maybe it was in week 7, where they hit the hyperbolic time chamber. They come out and they just absolutely destroy, and they play so well, and it doesn't stop there. I can even say, coming into scrims against my team, they bodied us. They're so good in a couple games at least. I can't give records or anything like that, but they are a really good team. They are so good. So just the fact that they just flipped the switch and then all of a sudden started performing super well. Those are my 2 favorite moments.
Nice. I'm sorry. I'm reading chat, and apparently I'm not smiling enough. I'm sorry.
I tell you that every day.
I'm sorry, Cowhead. I have disappointed you.
You need to stay smile bot.
Maybe I do. Dunk, what about you? What moments do you really remember? What are the most memorable?
So I have 2 favorite moments. The first week in Europe, because I watched Europe so much, and I fell in love with so many of these teams over there, to the point that I want to cast them next season. But watching Singularity in their very first week, me not knowing any of the players, just watching them in like their like first set of the day, like just going in first set of the day, body these guys. Just I hate to use that word again because I already used it, but that's the only word that properly describes what they did to this team. And I told myself in my head, this team wins this week. I haven't seen any of the games. This team wins this week. And then they won. And it's kind of the same thing for Kala, but like with this team, seeing a team control the game so well and move as a unit. I think we actually talked to Loranis and Henning, and they said only together like 2 weeks before this. They moved so well together. I just said there's just not another. I don't believe there's another team in the open that's going to work as well as a team as this team right here. And I'm a little upset to see them not make it all the way, but that was definitely like one of my favorite moments throughout the whole season. My second favorite moment, though, has to be watching worst positioning. I'm trying to remember who they were playing against. It was Sonic LaBeast, though. I want to say it was Sonic LaBeast on Junkrat, being a total god with those trap mines, like knocking people into his team and killing people.
Mm-hmm.
Knocked his Garrosh is like, yeah, I'm getting away, and then he just knocks the Arthas or whoever it was into him, and he just dies. And you see in chat, booted from team. He's kicked, he's gone, it's over. And I love those little interactions in game because you got these teams out here, they're trying their best to make it all the way, but they're still having fun, and that's really, for me, that's all it's what it's about. So yeah, I really enjoy that.
I think for me, one of my favorite plays, and this is coming from like a tank player, so he might not have been on Granite Gaming at the time. I don't remember if he ever swapped to them or was on a different team. It was so long ago. It was like February or something. It was week 2. But on Tomb of the Spider Queen, we have Raid Boss on Garrosh. He's coming down, and you had talked about his Garrosh play earlier, Dunk. But he's going after a Gul'dan and a Joanna. And the Joanna's going to hit Condemn, so he can't get the Gul'dan. He hits Indomitable, hits this toss on the Gul'dan, and gets the kill. And it's just like, holy crap, dude. You timed that just... Like, you know that Just Right meme from Emperor's New Groove? It was like that. It's like, dang, that was good.
That's actually my third favorite play. Dude, Raid Boss is a god. Oh, man.
And then I think for NA, my favorite moment has to be in week 7 to get to the playoffs, just to get there. King's Gambit has to finish at least third. At least third. And they're up against XD in the semifinals. Now, obviously, they can lose it, but what do? But they win the series 2-1. And they absolutely bodied game 3, if I remember correctly. And it was just like, it was the Droplets show.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Droplets show. And whether you say he's a Tracer and Genji one-trick player, I don't think that's completely true at all. I know him well enough to know that he can play other heroes. But, and then of course, like, Kevin just breaking out the Jaina. Oh, yeah. Now we're all learning that Jaina just bodies tanks too. Which is incredible. I love Jaina. Jaina's the best mage in the game.
You could say she stops them cold in their tracks.
Okay. Just about had enough of you guys.
Shout out to chat for noticing out how good like Kala looks today. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Hey, if anybody's here wondering, I had a featured Blizzard stream and it was the Dark Nexus, and I had my eyeliner across my face like a Illidari band, and now I can't get it off my eyes, so that's why it looks like I'm wearing makeup. All right, cat's out of the bag. There we go.
I wasn't gonna mention it. Like, I was trying to be nice here, you know.
Oh man, I love chat so much.
Quick shout out to Bombit for the 413 sub. By the way, thank you so much for the support, dude. And I know Dunk, you subbed earlier, but I mean, whatever.
Now I get the shout out.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it earlier. Okay. There was one more thing that I wanted to talk about. I need to scroll up here. Oh yeah, predictions. Now that we've kind of talked about everything, what the teams need to be doing, kind of hyping you up, You don't need to say the teams, because I think that might create some bias. At least since you're, I don't know, you've been casting them for so long. I don't know if you have a bias towards one of them or not. But I want to know how many teams from the Open for EU and for NA. Colin, you'll just do NA because I know you don't watch EU at all when it comes to that. But we'll start with Dunk. You already said 4 teams. All 4 of them will make it. Why do you think that?
I think they're better. The Open Division team guys have made it as far as they did with almost next to no resources compared to these HGC teams that are struggling to keep their spots, essentially. And the teams that are going forward are teams that already show they know how to do their homework. I think that, especially in EU, it's almost traditional for teams to get knocked out. In North America, the incumbents kind of stay into it, but I think that XD and King's Gambit are both going to be 2 teams that are going to shake it up. We're going to have a Taylor Swift shake it song going on, and that's what the HGC is going to look at like next season.
Okay, interesting analogy. Kala, what about you?
Okay, I'll use names. So King's Gambit versus No Tomorrow we can start out with. I think that this is going to be the real hot series, to be honest. Like, I think that these teams are very close to one another in terms of skill. And there's also a little bit of like the meta lore going on there, you know, like Jin being on No Tomorrow sort of thing. Like, does he make it into the HGC and then get out sort of thing? Like, you know, there's all that stuff riding on it. But the biggest thing for me is just both of these teams can perform well on their best days. And recently I haven't seen King's Gambit not perform well. So I really, I can't wait for this series. I don't know who's going to win it though. I don't. And I can't really, I think they're so close that I can't really make an estimate. LFM versus XD though. I'm worried about XD. They are one of those teams that, you know, they've had some shakeups. They didn't look too good at the end of the Open Division. Like, they looked all right. But they, you know, if they've been working hard, they certainly have the names, they have the roster to be able to make it happen. And then against like LFM, you know, LFM isn't a team that's able to scrim as often as all the other HGC teams. They've got some young players, but watching LFM recently, they've been really strong too. So if XD have put in the time, have put in the effort, have just grown in that cohesiveness as a team, then I think this can also be a close one. But I think I've got to right now put my word on LFM. You know, and it's hard for me to say, right? Obviously, I feel like I would want the Open Division teams to win, you know, coming from as an Open Division caster. But I do think that the other part of me says that I see LFM being able to win that one, but I see both NA series being very close.
All right. That's
I agree.
Coach's perspective and a caster's perspective. So I mean, you're kind of the expert here, so I'm gonna defer to you for that stuff.
See, the thing is it can just completely go out the window, especially with the LFM versus XD one, because I think that they're the more volatile teams. Right now, I think the most consistent team out of all of these is King's Gambit. But I've already said it. It just really depends on which team shows up in the LFM versus XD.
You know, personally, I love games when everything's on the line because you're really gonna bring it all out. If it's game 7 and they're like, this might work, we've tried everything else, those are like my favorite games when it just becomes that clown fiesta. We tried this before, let's do it, let's get it. You know, that's how like Murky Abathur becomes a meme from a championship series years ago. Like I love these types of series. This is the Crucible matches, in my opinion, are my most exciting matches all season.
Mm-hmm. I think I agree with both of you, but I think one team from each region will get in. I don't really want to say who, but I think at least I'll say at least one from each region gets in. We'll go with that. I'm pretty confident in at least one of the HGC teams to stay in because I think they've been, at least in the later portion, like phase or part 2, phase 1, part 2, they've gotten significantly better, whereas others have just kind of been getting increasingly worse. So I'll go with that. And well, okay, yeah, I guess so.
It's so obvious, Argy. We all know you think King's Gambit wins.
Well,
okay?
I'm sorry that I know
confirmed in chat.
every one of them. I'm biased towards my friends. I'm sorry, but I also do think they're playing extremely well, and I think they're, they have what it takes to make it. I also do think that XE has what it takes to make it, but I also think that LFM is a stronger team comparatively to No Tomorrow right now, and they've been getting better. EU is a little bit different. I think Leftovers have kind of plateaued, but I don't think they're bad enough to go out. Although Granite is, I haven't seen them play in a long time, so I can't really gauge EU as well as I can NA. So it's tougher. Actually, I do want to bring up one thing. I think it's really interesting that Worst Positioning picked Diamond Skin over Leftovers when I think Diamond Skin was the better team. Do you think that's...
Well, they always like to fight from a worse position.
Okay, you're out of here. Just... No more.
There's got to be information that the teams have on the, either internal conflicts of the other team.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of standings, things can happen that only people within the scene, intimately know. And I think that's what we were actually even seeing in NA. Yeah, so I think that's probably why that happened.
Okay.
It's either that or they're just like, hey, our playstyle works very well against yours. But I think it's more along the lines of they see a injured opponent and they want to go for the throat. They want to go for the throat.
The jugular? You want to go with the pun? Okay. All right. So I think that's it for our predictions. I want to take a few viewer questions. So I know, Dunk, you found one earlier from Azariel. Is that how you say his name? I've never actually said it out loud.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how I say it.
Okay. Dunk, did you have one from him? Or he can just type it out again.
I did have one from him. I was just waiting for you to steal it from me.
Nope. Because I didn't see it.
Ezreal asked in chat, I just wanted to ask Kala how he thinks new amateur teams should form / how would he fix the amateur competitive drought?
Ooh, the drought. The problem with the drought is that the amateur teams don't have anything to play for. So there's the answer is in the problem, right? If you don't have anything to play for, then we need things for them to play for. So we need some more amateur tournaments. That's literally the only thing that you can do. Because you can't just extend the open division seasons or anything like that. So I'm looking at HeroesHype. That's what I'm looking at. Maybe HeroesHype expands. They bring in another tournament. Maybe, who knows? No, I'm not sure. But somebody needs to make something for the amateur teams to compete for. Because the drought sucks. It's incredibly important to have a productive amateur scene, and the open division does a great job, but we need more. And you just saying it in the chat. Amateur team tournaments need actual cash prizes. Yep. I completely agree. You need some sort of incentive, not just EPing.
Because a lot of the times, especially in a HeroesHype tournament, we'll try and get teams to play, and they're we just think scrims are more productive. So, I mean, that's fine. Obviously, you do you, but we want to get that tournament feel for all the teams, so they know kind of what to expect. And that's our main point. But I know we're not going to be doing weekly stuff. At least for this year, I think. Maybe once the second phase is done, we'll get back to doing weekly stuff. But I know we'll be doing at least a few tournaments.
Okay.
In the soon TM. We'll go with that.
If I have 2 minutes to explain what I would actually do to Heroes, then I can do it. But do we have time? Do I have 2 minutes?
I mean, I wanted to keep it up 45 minutes max, so we got 8 minutes about.
Okay, well, I'm doing it. I'm sending it. This one's for you, Azariel. I would build a system that's just like League, where you have a salaried amateur system where it's sister teams of the actual team. So you would have the North American, let's say NA, North American Amateur Series for Heroes of the Storm, and there's like maybe a Tempo Storm Black or something like that, and it's the sister team, and you have a full roster from there. And then the star players from that, there's no such thing as the Crucible. It's just the amateur scene and the professional scene. The star players from the amateur scene will rise up. The weak players from the HGC will be very obvious. And then you can take Tempo Storm Academy, perfect. You can take players from Tempo Storm Academy and they can prove themselves throughout the amateur series or scene, and they can move into the HGC, basically like a trial session, like Overwatch Contenders. Exactly. I think that's so much better. It incentivizes amateur teams to really hustle. Basically, it legitimizes the entire amateur scene. It's not just, you work for 8-10 weeks and then you have one chance to get in at being a pro player, and then it's just this huge drought. It's a full scene that, it's living, it's breathing, and it gives everyone who's in this game something to work towards.
Now,
I think that's 100% the correct answer. If Kala didn't say it, I would have said it, and that's coming from me watching years of LCS and the Challenger Series for League of Legends.
I know, I'm pretty sure that every single Overwatch League team has a Contenders team as well. I know at least Philly and New York do, and I think London does as well, but I'm pretty sure most of them do. So we'll move on to the next question. Bahamut asks, what do you think, and this is probably at you, Kala, mainly, what do you think is lacking in HGC and what works best?
Nothing, I don't think. I think we could really have a better amateur scene, but I think that like lacking in the HGC, I actually think the HGC is fantastic. But I can't really say something that's lacking right now aside from, we don't have the viewership numbers. We don't have, maybe just like storylines and player personalities not being pushed as well as they could, just to try to pull in viewers from the rest of Heroes of the Storm. I don't think there's enough visibility in HGC, but as far as the way that HGC is run, I think it's fantastic. But yeah, I think that it's just the visibility of HGC, and that gets better the more that teams like mine and other teams in the HGC constantly give feedback to HGC administration and say like, hey, we would like to see these sort of things implemented to our game. We're already seeing like the Heroes Esports tab added and stuff like that. Way greater visibility is already starting, so it just needs to be ramped up.
Yeah, so I actually want to jump on that because I think I've always thought that League of Legends spectator mode has always been a fantastic thing, and I haven't played in a long time, so I don't know if they still do it. But you used to be able to, when the top level players are online, like they see a lot of high end like Grandmaster games playing on, you could go ahead and click and just spectate that game. Not watching someone stream, you're inside the client, spectate that stream, spectate that game. You can move around just like a regular observer would. I always thought that was crazy. It was incredible. They could very well do the same exact thing, and they've already implemented the tab now in the game on the HGC tab, whether they show in-game spectator mode or linking to these players' Twitches. I understand they have their Twitch streamer spotlight for like content creators and stuff like that. I'm talking about like within the HGC tab, and part of that as well, I do think Blizzard definitely needs to work up how well they kind of advertise the teams. I think some of the teams could also do their own effort to like really get their names out there, because there are tons of players there's 5 players to a team. I can tell you, I don't necessarily know. I would probably know what like half of them look like because I pop between the streams when I see them on Twitter and stuff. But like for those guys that don't stream at all, or the teams that aren't really pushing content, I couldn't tell you other than who's on their team. Like I don't know a thing. And I think that's huge, because when teams start really moving their fans into the HGC, that's when the content really grows. If they're not trying to grow it, Blizzard can do everything they want, but if the teams don't also work to do it themselves, a tree isn't built with one root.
Dang.
To add on, I completely agree with what you guys have said. One thing that I would really want to see on the HGC website is for each team, it shows the players and all of their stats and stuff. I would like, this is just me personally, I would really like short bios for each player, so we get to know and kind of care about the players more, because I think that's one thing that's lacking. Where the HGC does a really good job, I think, at this point promoting each team, but I think we just like, a lot of people just don't care about the player base, or not the player base, but the players in the league. If you know what I mean.
Shout out real quick. The Heroes Global Champion site is still down. The past hour.
Yeah, I tried going on
feels
earlier.
bad.
Zero information right now.
Feels bad, man. These are the things that I remember. So
there's a player bio for every player for dorms, but there isn't for their professional league.
We'll get it.
And there's a lot of players for dorm.
I just hope that Zugrugs is just Zug W. That's all it has to say.
A picture of his naked cat.
Aren't they all naked?
Well, his cat doesn't have fur. Did you know that you have to lotion up those cats once a week?
I do want to speak out. We did have dim_MIE, so I don't call you Dimmy. Hero, I've always wanted like a Bronze League Heroes type thing. It'd be fun to play in and fun to watch. Do want to give a shout out. There are a couple leagues out there, depending on who you're in. There's Hero Lounge and the Nexus Gaming Series. They do a wonderful job of putting together leagues for people who are not interested in playing competitive while also wanting to be casted, wanting to play as 5-man. That is pretty much the extent of what amateur scene there is right now. Until Open restarts or HeroesHype restarts the amateur series.
And I don't know if you mentioned it, Nexus Gaming Series is also very good. They have several divisions ranging from bronze all the way to GM players, and it's separated by division, so you're always playing against similar level of player. So
yeah,
with that, I know we've reached the Q2 point, so I want to kind of wrap up the show. I know Kala really wants to go play, was it Frisbee that you said?
Yeah, I got a mountain to climb and some disc to toss, man.
Okay, so we'll move on, and we'll start with you, Kala, for some good old shout-outs.
Oh, shout-outs. Number one, always... Actually, no, we'll do HeroesHype and Blizzard first. Thanks for having me on the Crucible pre-show. Appreciate it. Thanks for asking all the great questions. Number two goes out to Chatsu, my stream chat. Love you guys. And then number three just goes out to the Open Division teams and the HGC teams that will be competing this weekend. I wish you all best of luck in your endeavors, and I really hope that everybody gets what they want, but that's certainly not a possibility.
All right, Dunk, let's move on to you, bud.
All right, shout out to the HeroesHype chat, always keeping it lit, for instantly noticing the eye makeup. I was told not to say a word, but then you did, and I let it go. I thought it was great. Shout out to my girlfriend supporting me, going to work while I'm off so I can stream and play and podcast. And shout out to Bahamut for being the awesome guy he is and inviting me to cast with him after this. #plug. And you can find me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at my stream, Twitter at twitch.tv/Dunkstik, and at Twitter, just below the name. So I'd appreciate it for the follows. Thank you guys.
Hey, Dunk.
Yes.
I want you to look under my picture right now and look at
It doesn't say Argy Hots. It's the 4th episode in a row you haven't had it fixed.
As soon as you say their Twitter, I'm like, crap.
Hey, Junk, remind me.
I did that to myself on the first week of, the first day of China HGC. Mine just said @Kala. It's like, oh, that's not mine. Mine's Curtis Load MBD. Whoops. People are like, this guy doesn't have a Twitter account, man. I'm like, who is this guy? I assume that's their voice.
So, for me, shout out to Kala for joining us. It's been a real pleasure to have you on the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope Dunk didn't scare you away. Shout out also to you again and Jake for doing such a great job casting. And it was a really enjoyable experience to work with you guys. Next, if you guys don't know, on the 12th of May is the Heroes of the Dorm Finals. And I know Dunk and I are going to be there. Kala, are you going to be there? I think you
Yes,
are.
sir. I will be there in the flesh.
In the flesh, guys.
And
That means you
blood.
can touch him.
Oh,
Hold on. Keep a healthy distance.
I mean, ask to shake his hand. I don't know. But the point is, make sure to come say hi to us if you see us, because it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to enjoy
We'll be
some
wearing
great
sweet
games.
jerseys.
Well, you might. Mine is covered in signatures. Like, I got Cure right here, and Dansky. June's on the back. He drew a mountain and wrote Mountain Man.
Mountain Man.
Yeah. So with that, make sure to say hi to us if you do see us, and we're trying to decide when to do the next show. It's going to be a little bit more spaced out now that Open Division is not happening. So just keep your eyes peeled on the HeroesHype Twitter and our Discord. And then my Twitter is actually ArgyHots, as we have said. My Twitch is the same thing. Make sure to follow me there if you ever want to watch me play video games. I might suck, but I'm pretty enjoyable to watch, I think. So
He's
with
decent
that,
at Blaze.
I haven't played Blaze in a while. I've been focusing on Diablo. So with that, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you later.